In no particular order, here are my top 9 post-production filmmaking gear picks for 2025. The Blackmagic designed DaVinci Resolve Micro Color Panel. Nobody makes hardware that interacts as smoothly with DaVinci Resolve as Blackmagic design. Now, it's not only fun, a color panel helps you build muscle memory and work faster, plus more precisely thanks to the tactile controls. Now, this new micro color panel is perfect when I need to be on site because it's lightweight, it fits easily in a backpack, and it works wirelessly over Bluetooth, although usually I just plug it in with a USB-C cable. Now, it actually has far more functions than it appears. There's 2 shift buttons that are in the lower left, and those act as modifier keys for most of the other buttons, so it's pretty powerful. For instance, I can add a power window, and then I can hold down the shift down key, and then hit the window button again to track in both directions. The micro color panel also controls things like HDR exposure, temperature, and tint for photometric color space aware corrections, and it's currently on sale. JCPal DaVinci Resolve Wireless Shortcut Keyboard. Here's an example of how it sounds. This mechanical keyboard is Bluetooth enabled with 3 slots for all those different devices, or actually 4 devices if you count the 2.4 gigahertz wireless dongle that it comes with. Now the keycaps, they're a little bit shallower, the divot on them, which is compared to other mechanical keyboards I've covered, and actually makes it nicer for typing text, writing those emails, but it's great for video editing too, right? Obviously, it's got these large printed shortcut keys on them, the text and a symbol. Just make sure that the light's on in the room so you can actually read them as you're learning. Now, the big trick that the JCPal Dash has up its sleeve is the macro customization that's possible through the open source application that's called VIA. That's VIA. It's basically just like a Stream Deck where you can program any key to do just about any function. And there's 7 dedicated keys on the right side to do just that. So inside the box, you're going to find some extra shortcut keys that you might want to swap out. It's even got the tool for it. But for me, personally, I changed the top right to trim end, split clip, and trim start, as well as my very favorite shortcut that was new in Resolve 20, open in source timeline, which is typically Option Q, so it's 2 button presses. Oh, and also it cost 1/5 the price of Blackmagic Design's full-size editor keyboard. OWC 1M2 Thunderbolt enclosure. This silver metal heatsink looking device is the best external drive that I've ever used. It's a USB 4 Thunderbolt case for NVMe SSDs for placing your own SSD into it. You bring your own drive. This was a major cache drive upgrade for me this past year from my previous Samsung T7. I get over 3,000 megabytes per second read and write versus the old Samsungs that would maybe do 700. So over 4 times faster. This has made working with higher resolution footage with larger data rates that much easier. And it really improves the timeline feel. Along with the enclosure, I'll briefly mention the NVMe SSD that I'm using inside of it, and that's the Western Digital Black 4TB SN850X. Now, I found 4 terabytes to be a real nice sweet spot in the price versus the amount of cache that I like to have available. Of course, you can be used as your main media drive too, not just for cache. And yes, there's an ADG model that's out there and it's newer, but this one's fantastic and is going to save you a few bucks. Nobe Omniscope. Omniscope is new to me this year, and actually I really regret not using it earlier. It's a dedicated videoscope software that can run as a simple OFX plugin on a timeline node inside of DaVinci Resolve. Doesn't take a lot of setup. Basically, it replaces the hardware tools that were not as good and cost thousands of dollars in the olden days. Now, its purpose is actually to help you objectively evaluate the color of pixels on your screen. It's better, newer scopes than what you have inside of Resolve. Some of my favorite features are false color, which can help you adjust exposure just like you would with an onset monitor. There's a skin tone view, which helps you dial in the balance of a shot to prioritize the skin tones. And there's also Twin Peaks. This Twin Peaks scope has a great way of viewing saturations of colors and balance across a luminance range, kind of like if you had a waveform and a vector scope and they made a baby, sort of. Anyway, Twin Peaks is awesome. It's very customizable, and for me, it lives on my portable USB monitor next to my reference display. I love this tool, and it's on a big Black Friday sale now with 30% off until December 1st. Earthworks Ethos microphone. The Ethos, this guy right here, is hands down my favorite desktop tutorial or podcast microphone that's on the market. Earthworks is an American company based up here in the Northeast, so to me, that's already a bonus. But part of why this stands alone and sounds so good compared to an SM7B is because of the technology of the microphone. It's a small diaphragm condenser microphone, so it can actually capture higher frequencies better than a traditional dynamic microphone, which makes understanding spoken word easier. And I need all the help I can get. Now, it's an XLR microphone, so you do need an XLR USB interface, but because it's a condenser, it doesn't require a lot of gain, so just about any interface is going to work and sound really incredible. Mine is silver, but they also come in black. Bonus tip, I actually split my XLR signal from this microphone to an Artaccessories Pro split to send the same audio to my FX30 camera top handle and my screen recordings at the same time. It just makes syncing tutorials very easy, and it also gives me a backup audio recording. Blackmagic Design Video Assist 12G recording monitor. This is not a new monitor, but it received a new trick this fall for Sony cinema cameras. So using this attached to my Sony FX3 or FX30, I can record Blackmagic RAW directly from the HDMI cable. I can also record internally at the same time, but the reason this is so fantastic is that I now have a viable VFX camera that records 12-bit, not just 10-bit 422. That's not just 2 more colors, it's 1 billion colors versus 68 billion colors and shades. So less rounding, that's a great thing. No chroma subsampling, no internal noise reduction, and no compression artifacts. All 3 of those reasons make it a joy to use for a green screen key or just manipulating the image with the highest fidelity possible. Now, I'm also starting to make use of the Video Assist for screen recordings, actually, to take the load off my M2 Max when I'm recording tutorials, where I was using OBS or ScreenFlow, and that takes a little bit of encoding power. I use ProRes LT and 4K, so for me, it's my VFX tool and my screen recorder moving forward. Boris FX Mocha Pro. Objectively, Mocha Pro is the best planar tracker in the world. While I do teach how to get the most out of the tracking tools that are built into Resolve, when I'm working on a more difficult real-world shot, Mocha Pro gets me the better solves that I just can't get with the built-in tools. It works as an OFX plugin in the Fusion page or the standalone Fusion Studio software that I'm also a big fan of. Now, I personally just like to export the tracking data, which exports a standard point tracker corner pin, and this allows another user that does not have Mocha Pro to use the tracking data. If you do VFX, it's a must-buy, and it's on sale right now. DaVinci Resolve Editor Keyboard. Now this is the Lamborghini of editing tools. It's big, it's heavy, it's also wired, but oh man, the weighted jog search dial that's on it is worth its weight in gold. So if you have the desk space for it, and you spend a good amount of time editing, there is nothing that I've found more functional than this keyboard. It's also mechanical like the JCPal Dash keyboard I just talked about, but here's how the Blackmagic Editor keyboard sounds in comparison. I love that it combines the speed editor and a regular keyboard all into one, and I really like to make use of the large source and timeline buttons that are on the right side, as well as the interactive trim controls on the left side. 2 other keys that get overlooked are the insert black key for F2 for slugging in some space on your timeline, or the F3 freeze frame button. I use that all the time when I need to freeze a frame for a screen recording. It's still not the cheapest keyboard, but it does also include a license for the studio version of DaVinci Resolve, so if you still haven't bought Resolve, it's a good way to offset some of that cost. Creative Video Tips shirts. And now for some quick self-promotion so I can continue to provide free tutorials here on the channel. I have some shirts you can purchase and geek out on our shared love of DaVinci Resolve, like this obvious statement that the nodes are better than layers. Also, I have links to every item I talk about in this video down in the description, so if you start your holiday shopping using those, it's gonna help me out without costing you any extra. Hey, my name is Chadwick. If we haven't met, I'm so thankful for you. And because there's so much more to learn, I'll see you in the next video.